All right, y'all. It's time for me to bring in my guest for today's Reecie Colbert Show. He is Howard R. Jean, the CEO and founder of Black Meta Agency Corporation, specializing in career and workforce development, job placement in Web 2 and Web 3. Jean has 18 years of experience in workforce development. His first endeavor in workforce development was managing and implementing a $1 million grant from USDOE to recruit, develop, and place teachers of colors, classroom teachers. His unique background of cyber management, consulting, education, small business analyst, and entrepreneurship makes his solutions impactful and meaningful. He has also expanded his pursuits in the field of information technology, cybersecurity, DEI for small businesses, federal government contracting, and social justice advocacy. Black Meta Agency is the intersection of his life's work. Welcome, Howard R. Jean. How you doing?
Well, good to be here, man. I'm excited.
I'm so excited to have you here. We run into each other out in these DC streets. And when I saw that you recently were awarded the U.S. Black Chamber Power 50 Under 40 presented by Walmart Award, I was like, I need to have you on the show. So congratulations, first and foremost.
Man, thank you. I appreciate it. It's just an honor to be named with so many, prominent, young minority leaders in the nation.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if people could do the math, but I talked about your 18 years of experience and here you are under 40. So you have been working and leading the way for a very long time. How does it feel? Because a lot of people that work hard, but how does it feel to be recognized for being, I call you like a technology Black Renaissance man. How does that feel?
So here's the thing, you hit the nail on the head. I've always called myself a Renaissance man. So you're just so amazing, Reecie. But I think it's amazing to be recognized. And it's funny, I think about, the years I've been in this business and kind of doing the work. It come at a sacrifice. I don't have a large out of the country, travel record because that's a lot of time that you can spend working.
Yeah,
I worked a lot of weekends and things like that, but it feels good to be recognized. And the purpose of my recognition is to elevate the mission, which is to create a pipeline of 1 million BIPOC men and women into the tech industry. So anything that elevates that message, I'm all for.
Oh, absolutely. You do such important work in that space because, as Black people, there's no doubt that we are consumers of technology. Black Twitter is a thing for a reason. We're popping on social media. We are trendsetters when it comes to what technology in the consumer space is the poppin' technology. But what you're doing is work around making us owners of technology, how we can leverage technology for our advancement. So talk a little bit about kind of making that focus a little bit more on being the providers of technology as opposed to just the consumers.
Absolutely. So, to give you a data point, Black people are actually 8 to 10 years behind in the whole technology industry when it comes to ownership and also workforce. Okay. And the reason why it's such a pivotal moment is because of the burgeoning technologies we have, artificial intelligence, fintech, blockchain. These are all new frontiers. It's like the gold rush. And if we're not there to kind of get our buckets and get in lines for our opportunity, then we're going to be purchasing these things at a high premium versus owning them, with full ownership. And so, the purpose of what we're doing is literally to expose minorities, particularly Black people and women, to the telecom space, to biotech, and showing them that, hey, these industries aren't difficult to get into. You just understand how to, where do you start?
Okay, so you say it's not difficult to get into. Really? Tell us more about like the entry point for people who really do look at it as like, I don't know if I got that skill set.
Yeah. For instance, so it's a bunch of areas there. You need certifications, you don't need certifications, you need information. And the information equity is where we're losing at. It's not the talent, it's informational, how to get in, and it's not difficult. For instance, I'm working with Exposure, with the Exposure IDC. They're a nonprofit organization, and they're all about creating pathways to get us to selling telecom services, cloud services, and et cetera. And not selling like, hey, I have, internet at $39 a month. It's like, hey, you're finding a business that's already buying these services, approaching them saying, hey, you can actually save 10, 20, 30% by going with our consortium of partners. That takes no degree, it takes no experience. It just takes information on where do you plug in?
Right.
The reason why it's so underexposed, and I call it an information equity issue, is because less than 1% of Blacks are, the industry is made up of Black professionals.
Right.
So it's a multi-billion-dollar industry where we all use internet, but less than 1% helping to sell those internet services. So that's an area of technology that is just waiting for talented people to join. Other areas of technology, obviously they go into, the coding and, those are certifications.
Right.
But after you spend 6 months, getting a certification, the industry actually has more jobs than it has people to fill those jobs.
Right.
So we talk about, level of ease. Yes, the learning part and the information equity part. But once you get those credentials, you're ready for hire.
I know that's right. In terms of even finding out where do people start for certifications, where would you even recommend for folks?
Yeah, so I host a conference in Miami every year. It's called BiteCon, or co-host rather, with Kamati Leary and Kumara Thompson and some other founders. And essentially, we're working with Microsoft. Microsoft has a learning pathways portion of their website. So if you go online and Google Microsoft and then type in career pathways, learning pathways, it takes you to a dashboard, and this dashboard tells you exactly how much time and effort it takes to get this certification. And also, what are the jobs along the way to the full certification that you're compliant for? I'm also developing that solution on my own, where I'm developing an app that does the same thing, that trains, let's go from cradle to career. So someone with no experience in technology, and we're placing training, giving them shift gig opportunities, certifications, and placing them. And it's a lot of networks out here, from Afrotech to Blacks in Tech. But if they can follow me, my information is Black Meta Agency online.
Yeah.
You'll find us at BMA Web 3. But we're always sharing, and we're part of pushing and growing that community of technologists.
Right. I love that you talked about the span of opportunities out there, because a lot of people don't know. I remember when Black people were selling the hell out of rotisserie chickens, them little chicken grills. So I know we can sell some stuff and call centers and all that kind of stuff. So if you can sell if you was one of the people that was selling the rotisserie grills back in the day, then you can sell some internet services and some cloud services.
And listen, those are the people that we want into this space. It's about transferable skills.
There you go.
And the one thing that we don't realize is that as minorities, those people of color, we have a lot of skills that the water has been feeding off of for years. Now it's time for us to monetize and take ownership over those skills and just pivot into a high grossing industry, telecoms, coding and software solutions, things like that.
Yeah. And, a lot of times we are fed, speaking of fed, the idea that we have to be twice as good and we have to meet 100% of the qualifications before we even apply. And so we don't always connect the dots on what skills are transferable. So I'm hoping that if y'all listening, well, I know y'all listening out there, that you take away from this conversation to at least explore the pathway of technology. There is a phrase that you coined, or that you used before we turned before we got on air. Talk about that.
Yes.
I think I'm talking about.
So in the whole conversation of Afrofuturism is a return for the African civilization or African ancestors to go back into that futuristic mindset, like our ancestors, like in Egypt times and all around the world, where we were pushing narratives and pushing solutions forward through art, music, technology, and culture. So now, as I was reflecting about where are we at this very pivotal time in history, I coined the term digital reparations. So as people of color, our opportunities for asking for reparations, that's an interesting window. But us taking our reparations through this technology paradigm shift is where we are now. The reason why I say digital reparations is because if you understand what's happening with fintech, crypto, crypto technologies, and that industry, there are people that are 20 years old who made millions of dollars in the course of a year and month, and understanding that the plantation is no longer, cotton. The plantation is technology. Now, what part of the plantation are you on? Are you just buying the cotton? Are you growing it? Are you harvesting it? Are you owning those plantations that, will beget, the funding when it comes to generational wealth? So as you look at digital reparations, it's about getting certified. It's about owning your IP. It's about tracking your IP really quickly as an artist that you are. You're creative, you're an artist, right? So for instance, if there's a contract, if there's a signature that you can place on your podcast and all your quotes are IP, then there's a smart contract that says every time someone quotes from you, that you can get a residual on anything that their information makes. For instance, if I'm an artist and I sell a piece of artwork, right? There's this thing called a smart contract. This smart contract is like an AI lawyer that makes sure that anytime that your IP is leveraged, I don't care if it's in India, Australia, if it's in your backyard, you get a percentage of that in perpetuity.
Okay.
So when I talk digital reparations, it's about us finding ways to help repair our own culture and our own finances through this digital paradigm shift.
Woo! Look, that all sounds like an incredible opportunity, and I gotta figure out how I can get in on that. But it also sounds completely overwhelming and foreign. And I'm actually like, I have a finance MBA, I have a business economics degree, accounting minor, and it still sounds foreign to me. So you're piquing my interest with all these things that you're saying. Talk a little bit about the Black Meta Agency, because it is a really multifaceted synergy of an agency that I think is very unique. So tell people a little bit about your company.
Yeah. So Black Meta Agency is actually, it's called a KGU, and a KGU is the intersection of like multiple things and finding your core mission, right? That intersects. The Black Meta Agency, we operate as a agency that focuses on workforce tech solutions. Those tech solutions are outreach events, strategic partnerships, teacher leadership training the next generation. And then also it's about multiculturalism. And we know that in order for us to find anything interesting, they got to be cool. They got to be, in culture. So, because of, where we sit at the intersection of technology, workforce, entrepreneurship, we have a chance to do some really hybrid type of engagement. So some engagements are working with higher education institutions. Some are actually hosting really cool events like cigar, cryptos, and conversation, right? Cocktails and talking about crypto. So, as an agency, we able to play around in the event space, but also on the solutioning side, we operate as a management consulting organization.
Okay. What I'm interested in whenever I'm talking to folks like you who are doing work in kind of like the DEI space and the, trying to expand the pool of that looks like us in these spaces, is how is that being impacted by this anti-woke movement, this political moment that we're in? I know that, the work that you do, a lot of it is in corporate social responsibility and things like that. Do you find that it's more challenging, that the appetite from a lot of these companies is decreasing, or do you find that, it's about the same? Just give me an idea about how that's, how you're navigating this space with the kind of work that you're doing.
That's a great question. A lot of this started, well, I say a lot of this, but there was an initiative by the 110 org where Ken Chenault, the president of American Express, they created this pipeline of, getting, I think, 10 million people in tech, some to that extent, in the course of, 10 years. That kind of broke the ice. Corporate America started hinting at accountability, right? And then, once things kind of leveled out, now it's time for those that heard the call to keep them accountable. So I say that, we are early on into this whole, diversity, DEI play in technology. Unfortunately, the affirmative action piece is going against a lot of the work that has been done prior to trying to get us there. However, the timing of it all is that, it's a new industry. It's a new opportunities, new industry. There are a lot of allies now that are kind of stepped up to the plate, in organizations and externally focused. So I think this is one of the better times for us to have this movement. Internet access has become better. There's still an equity issue there. However, it's an easier conversation to have now than it was 10 years ago.
Right. That's a good point. I mean, it ultimately, the accountability part was always the rub. Like, because people can make a pledge and people can put out a goal, but in order for that to be consistently executed, somebody has to hold them accountable. And so the other thing I wanted to bring up is you talked about like your efforts around outreach. And that's so important because I know as a person who has a career in corporate America as well, that a lot of times they pull from people that are already there. And if the people that are already there don't look like us, then how are we going to get our foot in the door? If the people, it's not even a rec that's being put out, a requisition that's being put out for a job, or the interviews are stacked with, the homies or the cousins or whoever of current employees. So outreach is so important. But one of the things I want to talk about too is your work around with the Greater Washington, D.C. Black Chamber of Commerce. Because a lot of times we have in our mind, and maybe I'm stereotyping, if I am, my bad. But I feel like a lot of times as Black people, we feel like we have to like pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and kind of go at it alone when we have an idea, a business that we want to start. But in following your work, I realize that there are a lot more resources than people probably are aware of that are out there. So talk a little bit about what having the infrastructure, the institution like the Greater Washington, D.C. Black Chamber of Commerce or any Chamber of Commerce could do for those out there that are wanting to get into entrepreneurship.
Yeah. First of all, shout out to the U.S. Black Chamber and shout out to the Greater Washington Black Chamber. They enlightened me. Had I not been able to be exposed to, the U.S. Black Chamber and et cetera, I would have known about the value proposition that chambers offer, specifically those chambers that focus on minorities. One thing about chambers that those listening today, there are majority chambers, they're minority chambers. The majority chamber is, the billion-dollar corporations like, the internet providers and, the major corporations and foundations are a part of.
Yeah.
Those smaller ones like the Hispanic and LGBTQ and minorities and Blacks and women chambers, they actually are helping us to hopefully one day get to that, that majority chamber model or position. So essentially, we do a lot of mobilization of technical resources, funding, support. There are a lot of successful businesses that are in the consortium. So now you have a network to kind of pull and barter services from. Some chambers focus on technical assistance, which is training you on how to do the business plan and, do the business infrastructure support. The Greater Washington Black Chamber, we're hyper-focused on business development, helping companies find contracts. Because we are positioned in the DMV within the government contracting, beltway, we don't have to compete and double the resources that are provided in Prince George and Maryland, other parts of Maryland and Virginia. Yeah. We can let them do the technical, and locally we focus on business development.
Okay. That's so important because, look, I know Trump had his platinum plan and, Biden Harris have their initiatives. They've done a lot of work around small businesses, but the president is not going to give you a job. You got to deal with, you have to try to like leverage and reach out to networks and organizations that specialize in that business development space.
Yeah. And early this year, speaking about the administration, I was at the White House with Vice President Kamala, the cabinet from MBDA and also Department of Commerce, and about 25 Black males. Yes. And they were specifically talking about, what are some ways they can help Black men in business? And I'm gonna say something that's unpopular thought. There's a lot of resources for Black women in business. I think it's been amazing. Corporate America, Chase, foundations, but it's not a lot of resources for Black men in business. And once you really look at it, and that conversation was created because they know that we're being overlooked, and they lost our vote tremendously because they weren't focused on the Black male vote and Black male businesses. So I'm very excited at the potential that we have now to really raise that conversation and get other allies outside of the White House to kind of join the movement to support and fund Black male businesses. I actually had an accelerator for Black entrepreneurs where I actually made about 3 millionaires out of my accelerator. So I put my money in my wealth is, but still need more support.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you brought up that conversation because that is, or that event, because that's one of the events that I do try to say, hey, y'all, like, I know you're trying to sit up there and say that nobody is paying attention to Black folks in this administration, but the reality is those kind of conversations that you were a part of, which I didn't know you were a part of that, but that's wonderful, are really important, and they can lead to things. And another thing, I know that like with Vice President Kamala Harris, she's very big on public-private partnerships and leveraging her Rolodex and things like that. Now, I don't know, she can't be calling up like Walmart or something like that personally, but I know that that's very important to her. So I'm glad you were part of that. And I'm glad you were part of my show today. Tell
I'm
folks.
honored.
Yeah.
I'm honored. I'm honored. I'm honored.
Oh, the honor is all mine. Tell folks how they can follow you and the wonderful work that you do.
Yeah, so you can find us at bmaweb3.com. If you just type in Blind Meta Agency anywhere online, you'll find our social media. My personal handle is Howard, R as in red, Jean, HOWARD, RJEAN. All over the internet, website, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of that stuff. And also, we're easy to be in contact. You can call us actually at 202-709-6582. I know it's old school, but if y'all want to pick up the phone, shoot us a text. We still, we find all ways to get in contact with people. And our website, our email is ceo@bmaweb3.com.
I love that you had a phone number, and that's how you get equity, because not everybody has, know how to navigate the internet, but some people will pick up the phone and call. So I love that you did that. Howard, thank you so much for joining me here today. I would love to have you back when you got something else to plug or whatever. And yeah, good talking to you.
Oh, I got something for you. It's going to be amazing. And, you also maybe be able to be an affiliate partner, some cool stuff too, because of your platform you sit on. So look forward to working with you and your audience in the future.
I love that. Okay, then you have a good one.
All right, take care. Peace.